Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I think everyone's in. Welcome. I'd like to welcome everybody to our to this session, which is on vocational service. I'm really pleased to introduce you to our guest speakers, but I'm going to handle a little bit of housekeeping first before we get started. We're going to take any questions at the end of the presentation. So what we'll do is we're going to mute everybody to begin with, and then Suzanne will be handling our chat. So you can either enter a chat or a question into the chat, or you can raise your virtual hand, and we will ask you at the end to come off mute and ask any questions that you'll have.
Hi.
So we're going to mute all now.
Hi. After you say hi.
All right. And our guest speakers will come off mute though, because I've muted them. So I'd like to introduce our two speakers today. We have Nancy Penny, and she has been Rotarian since February of 2010, a member of Rotary Club of Burlington Central. She is the past director of community, and she is the past director of community service for Burlington Central. She moved to Chatham area in 2015, and she joined the Blayham Rotary Club. And she was asked to be the president in 2015, 2016. She moved back to Burlington in 2017. We're happy to have her back. And she rejoined Burlington Central at that time. And she is presently the secretary for the Burlington Central Club for 2020 to 2022. Our other speaker this evening is Sunil Sharma, and he joined the Rotary Club of Brampton South in the late winter of 2013. And since school and university days, Sunil has had a passion for Rotary and organized quiz competitions for organizations like Rotary Clubs, Interwheel Club, etc. By joining Rotary, he made a great decision in his life, and it changed everything for him and how he sees the world. Sunil was a club secretary in 2013, back-to-back club presidents 2015 to 2017, and again in 2021 to 22, and was a committee member of the International Services Project in 2016, membership committee of 2017 to 19, and currently Rotary International District 7080 Chair of Vocational Services, and also the bingo chair for 2021-22. Take it away, Nancy and Sunil.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah. So good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. Sunil and I are doing a co-presentation on ethics in vocational services. We are beginning tonight with a brief history of Rotary, some important dates to remember, taking a close look at our own clubs and how they may differ, ending with some thoughts on how to diversify your club. Are we ready to screen share, Sunil? So for 116 years, Rotary members have been addressing challenges around the world. It started with the vision of one man, Paul Harris. The Chicago attorney formed the Rotary Club of Chicago so professionals with diverse backgrounds could exchange ideas, form meaningful, lifelong friendships, and give back to their communities. Rotary's name came from the group's early practice of rotating meetings among the offices of its members. Can we skip ahead, Sunil? I think we need 2 more slides. There we go. The first Rotary meeting took place on February 23rd, 1905. At that time, there were 4 members. By the end of that first year, they had 30 members. Good fellowship, honesty is the best policy, and meeting at each other's place of business. Singing was introduced at club meetings. The first songbook was the National Rotarian. How many clubs still sing at their meetings? I've been to a few that have handed out the songbook and expected you all to sing. The first Rotary convention was held in Congress Hotel in Chicago, August 1910. There were 16 Rotary clubs. The name was the National Association of Rotary Clubs. Paul Harris was elected the association's first president. In 1911, the first motto was "One profits most who serves best." During the 1911-1912 Rotary year, the association became international with the founding of a club in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Soon, Rotary crossed the Atlantic to establish clubs in England, Ireland, and Northern Ireland. The National Association of Rotary Clubs, which became the International Association of Rotary Clubs in 1912, adopted the name Rotary International, RI, in 1922, which is how we know it today. The core values that founded Rotary remain at the heart of the organization today. Fellowship. We believe that individual efforts focus on individual needs, but combined efforts serve humanity. The power of combined efforts knows no limitation, multiple resources, and broadens our lives and perspectives. Fellowship leads to tolerance and transcends racial, national, and other boundaries. Integrity. We are committed to and expected accountability from our leaders and fellow members, both in the results of our efforts and the processes we use to accomplish our goals. We adhere to high ethical and professional standards in our work and personal relationships. We are fair and respectful in our interactions, and we are consciously steward and resources entrusted to us. Diversity. We believe Rotary unifies all people internationally behind the ideal of service. We encourage diversity of vocations within our membership and in our activities and service work. A club that reflects its business and professional community is a club with a key to its future. Service. We believe that our service activities and programs bring out greater world understanding and peace. Service is a major element of our mission. Through the plans and actions of individual clubs, we create a culture of service throughout our organization that provides unparalleled satisfaction for those who serve. The concept of service is key, herein that when we serve, it is between equals, and that after a period of service that all parties are enriched by the interactions in a long-term way. And lastly, leadership. We are a global fellowship of individuals who are leaders in their fields of endeavor. We believe in the importance of leadership, of development, and in leadership as a quality of our members. As Rotarians, we are leaders in implementing our core values. All of these core values are reflected in the object of Rotary and the four-way test, which we use in our daily lives. They inspire us to foster and support the ideal of service for developing and maintaining high ethical standards in human relationships. The first constitution and bylaw of Rotary International stated that Rotary Club membership was for males only, a networking club for professional men, working together as an opportunity to serve their communities. Do all professionals have high ethical work ethics? I would think most people have morals and ethics and practice them every day. I would hope our schools are teaching our youth around the world to live with high standards, morals, and ethics. In 1932, the four-way test was introduced. One of the things that we think, say, and do is a test used by Rotarians worldwide as a moral code for personal and business relationships. The test can be applied to almost any aspect of life in any language. The four-way test still remains the same today. Does it still apply? Do you think we should be updating any of the wording? Let's take a look to remind ourselves of the wording. Does this apply to your personal life as well as your professional life? Does your club recite the four-way test at every meeting? How many of you can recite the four-way test?
With MailChimp, you can design more engaging marketing assets in no time at all.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. How many of you can recite the four-way test without looking it up? Let's play a short video on the four-way test.
Thanks to our AI-powered creative assistant, you're more than a small business, and MailChimp's got
of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? In the beginning of creation, there was no you, but today we are Rotary. We are creating inspiration. It's not brand new, we are the people of action. It's never too late to join our hands and make the world a better place for you and me. Reaching out for one another is what the Creator sent us to do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So let us stand, give a hand, helping those in need. Let's join our strength and help one another. So let us stand, give a hand, helping those in need. Let's join our strength and help one another. So let us stand, give a hand, helping those in need. Let's join our strength and help one another.
Wow. Thank you. So I have seen four-way tests printed in many different formats, but I had never heard it sung beautifully, I might add, until I stumbled across this video. Look for more interesting clips and videos on the different Rotary Club websites and share them at your Rotary meetings. Find one that inspires you. I remember that when I first joined Rotary, they told me that I would have to stand up and at one of the meetings and recite the four-way test. Well, I was a little nervous, but it really doesn't take that long to memorize it. So as the years progressed, more clubs were formed. First Rotary Club in Latin America was Havana, Cuba, 1915. Rotary Club in Manila, Philippines, 1919. First Rotary clubs in continental Europe, Madrid, Spain, Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa, and Australia, Melbourne, were in 1921. In 1921, the advancement of peace was added to Rotary. So what happened in 1989, 84 years after Rotary was founded? Any guesses? Well, January 23rd, 1989, the Council of Legislative voted to admit women into Rotary's clubs worldwide. U.S. Supreme Court decision votes to eliminate the requirements in the RI Constitution that membership in Rotary clubs be limited to men. So women are welcome in Rotary clubs around the world. A watershed moment in the history of Rotary. How many women do you think joined the Rotary Club at that time? So there was probably 1 million members back then. When I looked it up, there was in 1990, there were only 20,000 women in Rotary. But by 2010, there were close to 200,000. So as you are all aware, Rotary is about to induct its first woman president, Jennifer Jones, a Canadian from Windsor, Ontario. Let's watch this short video. I'm so excited for this next Rotary year. We have a fabulous theme, Imagine. What are you going to imagine this year? In Rotary's first decade, members set out guiding principles that evolved into what is now known as the object of Rotary. The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise, and in particular, to encourage and foster, in short, first, development of acquaintance, second, high ethical standards, third, ideal of service, each Rotarian's personal, business, and community life, and the fourth, advancement of international understanding and peace. The one that sticks out the most to me is the fourth, a world fellowship of business and professional persons united in the ideal of service. How many of you, while traveling, had participated or visited another club? Were you welcome? Could you follow along? Did the meeting run a little differently than your club's meeting? The very first international club I attended was in El Salvador, Central America. The meeting was in Spanish. When they stood, we stood. When they raised their glass, we raised our glass. Didn't understand a thing they said, but we were made welcome. Canadians a long way from home. Enjoyed a fabulous meal, and we met some new Rotarians. So do you welcome visitors to your club? Assign them a Rotarian to make them feel welcome? I certainly hope so. I always wear a Rotary pin, a brooch, a scarf, a hat, something that tells others I am a proud Rotarian. I have met other Rotarians on my travels, and even in my own city, I've met people that I did not know who were Rotarians. Great way to start a conversation. So what would you say to someone who asks you, what is Rotary? Over to you, Sanil.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. So great question. What is Rotary? So Rotary is a apolitical and non-religious, does not discriminate with race, creed, gender, or religion. Is that the statement true? Do we discriminate? Year ago, Rotary Club would allow a certain number of occupations, categories into the club. If a prospective member wanted to join and there was already a member in that category, was it up to the member to reject the proposed member, or did the whole club get to decide? One of the good services in Rotary, which is the 5 avenues of service, is vocational services. Diversity is an international organization. Rotary values its diversity around the world and within each club. You have to think, is your club diverse or diversified? Classifications. This is one of the important aspects of Rotary, where you need to identify the members with different backgrounds, views, what they bring to the club, and understand of their community and its problems, and best equipped with find solutions. This is one of the pillars of Rotary Code of Conduct. As a Rotarian, there are 5 principles or code of conduct which every Rotarian should learn and make a practice in day-to-day activities, whether it is in personal life, professional life. This is very important. And how you respect each other's occupation is an important aspect as well. Understanding their professional skills, development skills, and whether this can be communicated and informed to all the members around the world. How do you avoid the behaviors if there is any disorder in the club or at Rotary? It also helps to maintain harassments in Rotary. Equality important is fostering a culture of inclusion where these differences are respected, supported, and valued. Do you agree with this statement? Clubs are most successful when they reflect the community they service. There are some classifications which are important for every club and at Rotary, recognizing and promoting the value of useful occupations. Classification talks, business tours, Rotary Fellowship, which we all know very well about Rotary Fellowship, sponsor a career day or a career fair, sponsor a seminar at either at an educational institution or your business, and also how you can mentor a young person who is showing interest to join Rotary or is a non-Rotarian. This is an important statement given by Paul Harris in 1914. Whatever Rotary may mean to us, to the world, it will be known by the results it achieves. So I 100% agree with this, and we all follow the values of Rotary. And to end, this is an important for all the Rotary champions through vocational services. I found this slide in one of the Rotary websites. The slide here shows how the chain is happening in the vocational services around the globe, where humans are joining one another, sharing their thoughts to make vocational services as one of the pillars to make it success for all Rotarians worldwide. Thank you so much for giving me and Nancy an opportunity to discuss and present on vocational services. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you so much to both of you. Very informative. Suzanne, do we have any questions at this point?
We do not have any questions in the chat, but I see that Badar raised his hand. So please, Badar, if you unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was that was excellent presentations from both of our speakers. Sunil, if I may ask you to elaborate a little bit under the classifications categories or discussion, you had identified business tours.
Mhm.
Now I know quite well actually how Rotarians in US do that. I have never seen Rotarians in Canada, and especially in our district, do it. So please elaborate.
So business tours can be like whether it's been your professional or the business you run. For example, if you're running a high business, which might be benefit for not only Rotarians or the city where we live in, we can give a tour to them to make them understand what kind of business we are doing, how this can be beneficial in a long run, and how the community can support giving a walkthrough to not only the Rotarians, but also to the non-Rotarians.
So sorry, Mary, if I may, I just want to share an observation with everybody on this call, because I think it will lead to a very interesting conversation. I was talking to my colleagues in Kansas Chamber of Commerce. I am a past chair for Brampton Board of Trade, the local chamber in Brampton, so I try to stay in touch with chambers in the US. And so I asked them how they reach out to chambers internationally and how they build relations with chambers internationally. And they turned around to me and their answer was, we don't do any international networking. All of that is handled by the Rotarians.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
the role Rotary in Kansas plays in terms of introducing their business owners to international community, to their network.
Wonderful. Thank you, brother, for sharing that information.
Yeah,
That's
that's amazing.
Sunil and Nancy, I know after questions you wanted to do a poll. Would you be ready for the poll now?
Sure.
Let's start the poll.
Okay. We're going to launch a poll. There's 3 questions to answer.
So which month is vocational services celebrated? Let's see who was listening.
And
Second
we also shared in the presentation as well.
Yes, we did. Which of the below are the guiding principles of Rotary? Question number 2. big prizes for the correct answers, guys. And do we have the third question?
Yeah, third question is very interesting. So don't get confused with the answers. So please look into this and answer. What is the Rotary International theme for Rotary year 22-23?
I didn't see the third question up. I only saw the first two.
Yeah, can you please repost, Mary?
I haven't ended the poll yet.
You have to scroll down.
You have to scroll down.
Question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you have to, on your end, I think you have to do something in order to see all three.
Okay.
So I'll just give it another minute or two. We've got. All right, I'm going to share the results.
Ooh. Okay, so the correct answer is January for Vocation Month. I'm not sure if everybody knows this. We might have some new Rotarians, but every month there is a theme. And I believe RI is the one that dictates what that theme is, but it is the same every single year. So the second question, which of the following are the guiding principles of Rotary? I can't see. Can you scroll it down for me? Because I can't move it.
Yes. So we had 50% said the four-way test and 50% said all of the above.
Okay, so all of the above is the correct answer for that.
Great.
Yes. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. And then for the last one, what is the Rotary International theme for the upcoming year? And 100% did say Imagine Rotary.
All right.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I have some good things to talk about the third question. So the first international theme was, do anyone remember? First international theme, 1955. If anyone is looking to history, it says develop own resources. That was a theme which was brought up in 1955-56 Rotary International year by Rotary International President A.Z. Baker. That was the first international theme. Then after, every year, the RI president is bringing the Rotary International theme. And Enjoy Rotary came up in 89-90. Imagine Rotary, as we all know, is coming up in 22-23 Rotary year. Live Rotary came up in 1964-65 Rotary year. So I want to discuss this and bring some knowledge to our members and take it away. Thank you.
All right. Suzanne, any other questions?
No, there are no more. Oh, Patricia, sorry. Patricia raised her hand, so I just saw that now. My apologies.
That's all right. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Sunil and Nancy. I'm throwing in a comment, not a question. One of the most important things for me under the heading of vocational service, I'm a very grassroots Rotarian, and I feel like the way I apply vocational service primarily is to say, what are the skills I have that I can share? And a lot of the members of my club do the same. So if somebody has a skill for comforting people, let's say, and one of our members is sick, they'll share that skill. Or if I have a skill for, I do calligraphy, and so I'm going to share that skill with people. And it's very grassroots, and it's important that everybody in the club, in your own local club, acknowledges the skills that they have at those grassroots levels, whether it's gardening or sewing or accounting or some other skill, that they share that with their members and with Rotary at large, so that we have those connections. I think it nurtures connections at a very grassroots level in saying, I can help you with XYZ. And that's a vocation. That's a sharing that really matters at the personal level, at the club level. And then we go forward with that because it creates connections, and it can only improve growth and communication. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. You can apply it in whatever way your particular skills happen to be. And just enjoy that sharing. I did a talk last year on gardening. I'm an avid gardener, and people received that well. And I thought, yeah, that's vocational service too, in sharing the skills we have and nurturing the relationships that we have within our club and beyond. And if I can do that, I'll do that to the best of my ability. And the rest of my club members do that too. We share our skills with each other, and we enjoy that. It creates the relationships that we want. And that's my grassroots vocational service interpretation.
Well, thank you, Patricia. I think classification talks, we never got around to that. So I think classification talks are vital to every Rotary club, because that's usually when you find out what people's hobbies are, where their heart is actually coming from. So like you said, diversification, so that you just never know. Just because somebody is an accountant doesn't mean they want to become your treasurer. They might have, like you said, calligraphy skills, something that is very near and dear to their heart. So I was going to ask the members if everybody has done their classification talk, and if you had changed professions, if you had done a reclassification talk. I know for some of our older members, when they retire, you know, they like to come back and like you said, do one of the ones on hobbies. So those are important things to do.
And every Rotarian has a hidden vocational service in them, like Patricia mentioning about gardening. I have also vocational services within me, which is hidden. But yes, I do some activities, like I do volunteer services at my workplace. So that is one of the vocational services I do for my own organization. In the month of October, we have Moment of Service. So I do 3 to 4 hours of vocational services and help the community in the neighborhood.
Very nice. Andrew, I think you had a question.
Yes, Andrew. You have to unmute yourself, please. Andrew, you're on mute.
I think I'm out here probably to make trouble rather than anything else. And I'm going to take some time because I've been Rotary for a long time. I'm probably been Rotary before most of you were born. And for the last 20 years, off and on, I've been coming to these meetings. The first one I go to is to see what happens in vocational service, because that's a tough nut. And I haven't really done a rating recently on the programs, but you know, it's a very, very hard project to get a grasp of. And I even see Rudy Habish, our past district governors, are even sat on in his program. And let me tell you one thing, Rudy, I wasn't that impressed either with your program. And it goes back to 1932. I found something interesting at the 23rd annual Rotary Assembly. Herbert Schofield from the Rotary of British Isles said, "A full explanation of what vocational service implies is not an easy. What implies is not an easy matter. Vocational service is very often misunderstood. Vocational service is a particularly difficult gospel to preach because it is relative and abstract, and results cannot be so easily seen as in the 3 other phases of Rotary activity. And I think that's what we face when we're doing vocational service, because it's a very, very difficult one to get a hold of. And I don't want to, instead of questions, I don't want to lecture you, but I want to maybe share some of my, experience and knowledge very briefly, and maybe something good will come out of it some way. And I had all kinds of documents over the years on stuff to do with Rotary. I had to do a speech in January in my club, and I was going through all the stuff to find out what I could talk about vocational service, because it was Vocational Service Month. And I found an excerpt, and I don't know what the origin is. And it's about the closest thing that I can say is to my belief what is vocational service in Rotary. The term vocational is reference to vocational service, a Rotary defined avenue of service. It has 2 components, vocation and service. Rotary is still an association of civic organizations, clubs with common goals and a purpose and standard form of association and administration. Rotary was founded and was intended to be populated by persons with a vocation who have undertaken to serve and better their community. Rotary Club members should have a working vocational and practical real-life skills and experience in commerce, industry, or the professions. In their community and club life, they maintain high personal integrity, and in their business and professions, honesty and fair dealing. A good vocational membership attracts good and qualified persons. Sadly, many of the current RI guidelines, and they are guidelines, not the law, focus on service and neglect vocation and vocational service. Vocational service is not merely an internal RI labor exchange. Today, vocation as a component of vocational service appears to be forgotten, despite having been for a century a vital membership resource for recruitment and retention. Any Rotary Club should always be aware of the relevant and changing needs of the community, the current civic community, but it must also care to establish and maintain a vocationally skilled membership. Good people attract good people. And I like to think that's about the best statement I've seen of vocational service. And it covers the 4-way test, it covers classification, it covers all the things that you talked about. And I think when you do vocational service, try to have a focus of what it is, because people will find it very, very confusing if you do too much detail, you diverge too much. Stick to the main points and stick to the main things. Now, unfortunately, with the publicity that we get down from RI, that what Rotarians are supposed to be, they're supposed to be people of action, and they're supposed to be whatever else they are. The 4-way test, for example, has become a disconnect. Like they're trying to say you got to be people of action, and then you say, oh yeah, but you got to be these honest, nice, caring people. It doesn't make any sense in that particular perspective. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say. I had a very interesting time listening to this. It was a different approach from last year, and it was a different approach from the previous year. Now, as long as I can, I'll probably come down to these vocational service programs and just watch people trying to make sense of it, as I did for many, many decades. And I still don't know for sure what vocational service is, but I'm starting to get a pretty good grasp of it.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate your inputs, and definitely we'll take your experience and your inputs to move forward at the district and make clubs more vibrant for vocational services. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mary Brady had raised her hand.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment about one of the things that our club has done, because as you both mentioned, you talked about classification talks being a really big part of vocational services, and most of the time we only have time for like one every couple of months, quite generally, because it takes up quite a bit of the meeting. So we started doing a vocational minute, similar to a foundation minute. And so we rotate around asking people to do it. So it's just a very mini little classification talk. And at the very end, we ask them to tie it to the 4-way test as well. So we give them 5 minutes or so, and they can just talk a little bit about what their vocation, their occupation, anything that's new and relevant in their industry, perhaps something that they think maybe their members might be interested in, and then how does their occupation or vocation tie to the 4-way test. So we're trying to keep it alive that way. Because it will take a long time to go through all of our members in order to do a classification talk. So just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And Lilith, Claire, you had your hand up.
Yes, I really did appreciate the presentation, so thank you for that. But I also wanted to comment on Andrew's speech. I myself was also confused, unsure, not confused, but uncertain as to exactly what vocational services meant within the Rotary concept, because I am a relatively new Rotarian and just trying to better understand. Somebody had mentioned earlier that you join Rotary at a certain level and you retire, and I'm in that position too, where I'm now retired. So I tend to use the skills that I've acquired over my professional life and make those applicable within my Rotarian work. But it's also of importance for me to consider my other skills, my other passions, and bring that into Rotary. So that was part of what I got from this meeting, and I really thank you for that and appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Andrew, please.
I think in reply to Lilith, the quality of a membership was such that they were supposed to be leaders in their community and the leaders in their profession. And if you're at that caliber, then you are also capable of doing other things, especially in business in days when Rotary was started, because you did just about everything in your business. You had personnel skills, you had marketing skills, you had accounting skills, because you're a small businessman, you understood skills. And therefore, you also expected to have other skills. And when you were a retired person and you've been in business, that's a great credential to be in Rotary, and that you bring in other skills in there. That's only to be expected of you, because in order to be of that kind of a caliber of person, you probably have other skills. And that's why I think the other skills of the retired people coming into Rotary are really respected and good, because you've shown you had the capacity to be who you are, and then you're coming to Rotary and you're bringing those general skills with you.
I totally agree with that. Having members with different backgrounds, viewpoints does make your club a lot stronger, and it does help the community overall. So thank you, Andrew.
And I see our DGE, Sandhya, has raised her hand.
Thanks, Suzanne. I love that there's a conversation around vocational services that makes me very excited. And Lilith, I think you nailed it in that it's both, your skills and your passions. And I think sometimes, I know we focus on vocation and tie it to our professional skills or passions, but there's also things that we do that one might not label as professional that also matter. I'm an avid dancer, and I'm sure that could somehow contribute in serving some which way and form. I'm not sure how, but we'll figure it out. And nothing would bring me greater joy than to be able to express one of my passions in Rotary, right? And use that to serve. So I think there's a lot to be said about knowing our members extraordinarily well, and not only what their visible skills are, but as Sunil pointed out, what their invisible skills are or passions are that can be really tapped on to serve.
Thank you, Sandhya.
Yes, thank you, Sandhya, for this remark. And Badar had raised his hand, and then Patricia. Badar, please.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with what everybody else has said already. I will give you guys a fine example of using Rotary's network and vocational services to build peace around the world quickly, because it's literally happening as we're talking. If I went to a hard business organization like a chamber and told them to take a trade delegation to Pakistan, given the general geopolitical environment, majority of the chamber executives I know would be very leery about it. But as you and I are having this conversation, there are Rotarians from Toronto who are in Pakistan right now, being hosted by Rotarians in Pakistan. And those Rotarians in Toronto have taken the president of Algoma University with them. And the Rotarians in Pakistan are now introducing Algoma University president to colleges and universities in Pakistan. And she's literally posting pictures on social media as she's going to those institutions, meeting students. And really what she's doing in the process is also promoting Algoma University in Pakistan, right? In my humble opinion, that is a fine example of Rotarians using Rotary's network, our vocational services, promoting literacy, and at the same time building world peace.
Yeah, 100% agreed, Badar, on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Badar. Patricia, you had your hand up before.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. I just wanted to tie in some of the other great comments that people have. I worked in healthcare management for many years, and I bring those skills to my club and to Rotary in general. But I think if people want to try and understand where grassroots Rotary starts, is some of the other simple skills too. Yes, we bring the professional skills, but at the club level, at the ground level, the other skills we have are what start conversations. And so if people are trying to understand vocational service, because it's this big cloudy thing for most people, I would suggest start there. What are you good at? Are you a people person? Are you a caregiver? Or whatever your skills are, bring those first of all to the table at your club. And then also in the big picture, as Sunil and Nancy have emphasized so well, that we take our professional skills out there into the world as well, but not to forget those other skills that we have. And Lilith described it perfectly, that if you're retired and you've got these other skills at your disposal, I just think we should be bringing everything to the table, all of those skills and passions we have. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patricia. And Gaia had her hand up.
Yeah, I just had a question regarding like the skill set and asking people who are retired to come and join the club. So my question is, what is like a way that I can do more networking to let the older community join our Rotary to showcase their skills and talents? Because Sandhya mentioned about dancing and all that stuff. So I know they like to do like ballroom dancing and all this kind of stuff. So we could do those kind of things with our clubs too, like have a dance-a-thon with seniors and be more engaging in the community. I love cooking. I have a passion for cooking. So I love to cook. I love to show my cooking skills to Rotarians. So like if we can find a way to network within our district and find clusters of people that can visit clubs to show little things here and there, then we can do more of these vocational services. Like we could have one club visit another club and they could teach something like a dance class or something like that. Maybe we can do it that way. Or I can go to visit another club and do something else for that club.
During pandemic, if you have seen, a lot of clubs have done online cooking classes or online cooking show kind of thing, showing other clubs a delicious dish they cook, he or she. So that was one of the great success. And also, if you want to get in touch with the family and friends, that'll be the first place to start with, to engage and bring them to the Rotary for the vocational services. Because that is a starting point where we get a lot of networking. And
Yeah.
slowly, once you connect 5 people,
Yeah.
and down to road 3 months, you get 10 people. So likewise, you connect and do a lot of vocational services in the community.
Okay, so we can network with each other in the district and see if one person is willing to come and visit, like
Correct.
a Zoom meeting or something, and show something, and then people can learn.
Correct. Yeah.
And we can go do the same for another club if we, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a good cook as well.
I love to cook, so that's why, yeah.
In fellowship
I'm a
night.
good eater.
That's what I said, Mary.
Because we need to have 2 going together, eater and cooker.
That's right, that's right, yeah. And yeah, it's important to like, I guess we could all come together as a district and like share our skill sets, and then whoever's wants to volunteer can visit one of the clubs and show what they have, and because I run like our Rotary Community Seniors programs and stuff. So if we had one visitor come to our program, you can teach my seniors how to do anything, they'll like appreciate it, like, so that's what you have to think about. Long-term
What club are
planning.
you in? Gaia, what club are you with?
Mississauga Malton.
Mississauga Malton, okay.
Yeah. But our programs are run on Zoom, so all the seniors come on the Zoom chat. So we can all, when we have our meetings, we can, one of you guys can come and visit the Zoom meeting room. We can do something together with the seniors because they like all that stuff. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Guy. That's a very interesting thought. Well, please keep me informed about that in the future. Andrew had his hand up, and then Lilith again.
I was just going to leave some information with those who are interested. I just can't find a copy of it, but if you really want to go down deep in the roots of Rotary, and it's best to look outside of Rotary what's been written. And I think about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, a man named Goff, I'm trying to think of his first name, wrote a doctoral thesis, that's Goff, and you can find it on Google Scholar. If you look for university written scholarly papers, go to Goff and look up Rotary on Google Scholar, and even in Google, and you will find his PhD thesis. It's about the first 30 years of Rotary and how it developed. And it was quite surprising, even the Rotarians didn't know. Rotary was responsible in actually chartering 200 communities in the United States as life was, as industry and commerce was developing in the West, and how Rotary penetrated into India, coordinated China and Japan. It was all on the basis of 4-way tests and community. What's good for the community is good for business. What's for business is good for community, and honesty, integrity among all businessmen, so that you could go from country to country and you knew you would meet honest people. And it's a very interesting look by an outsider. So if you want to academically study the founding of Rotary, and I would even say people who are been around for Rotary for a while would read that thing and find it very, very enlightening. He's also in the process of writing a book, and I think the book was supposed to come out just now, and it's supposed to do with Rotary and also with the growth of some of the NGOs at that time and how business was involved in making them grow. Because the involvement of business in Rotary was very, very heavy. We're concentrating here now on the social life, but Rotary was really created by business people who also cared for the community. And that was the basis of Rotary. So remember Goff, Goff, and if you want to do any research, go find them in Google. And the copy of that thesis is for free. You can unload it, spend your time looking at it, and you can find out how they got into Cuba and how they got into India and how they got into Egypt and how they got into Japan and how they got into and organized themselves in the United States. Anyway, I thought I'd leave that with you.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that.
Just before we go to any other questions, what we'll do is we'll leave the Zoom room open to continue the wonderful conversations that we're having. But I'll close out this official session and we'll stop the recording, and then please feel free to, we'll keep it open and hopefully continue the conversations. But I just wanted to thank both Nancy and Sunil for a really wonderful presentation. You have sparked so much conversation right now. So kudos to you. As I think every single person here has said, vocational services is one of the toughest ones. You know, many of us still really don't understand what it is, but you really helped us to make a little bit more sense of it. So I appreciate all the research you did, and you did a wonderful job in the presentation. And we'll stop the recording, Suzanne, and then what we'll do is we'll just leave it open. And I think Lilith, you're the next one to chat.